Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to take another look at our memory demo, which is part of a larger series of videos focusing on the fundamentals demo or the fundamentals of the Java programming language. Now, specifically, the purpose behind the memory demo is to take a look at all sorts of different aspects of memory management in Java, including things like passing variables to functions. But in this particular video, we are going to start to take a look at a rather unusual topic for this conversation, and that is going to be, what does it mean for two items to be equal? Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be viewed in the context of memory. I just thought this would be a great opportunity for us to revisit this in case you weren't completely clear on what equals truly means. And so to begin with, let's go ahead and take a look at our helper function here. It's not very interesting. You can either grab a copy of the function signature that I'll leave in the comments or take a second and pause the video and to go ahead and get started on this. But fundamentally, what we're going to do here in this video is we're going to create a number of different examples, and we're just going to explore the various different combinations of equals. In other words, various different ways of looking at whether two objects are equal. Now, again, we're just going to get started on this in this video. We're actually going to follow this up with a couple more examples in later videos. But let's go ahead and get started by focusing on two different data types. I'm going to start with integers. I'm not going to use the primitives. In other words, I'm not going to use the ints, but I'm actually going to use the integer objects, and hopefully you'll see why in just a second. And we're also going to take a look at strings. Now, again, you might have had some experience with both of these, so some of this is probably going to be a revisit, but there is probably going to be a couple of surprises still in this video. So to begin with, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and start off by creating a couple of integers, and then we'll switch over to our strings. My variable names aren't going to be terribly interesting or terribly creative here. I'm just going to call this one int a, and I'm just going to assign it some value here. Value equals to 5. What value it is doesn't really matter, but we're going to do the exact same thing now with our int b. And again, I'm going to go ahead and assign the same value so that on the surface, they're going to look like they are the same variable. And hopefully you can see where this is going, and that we're going to compare them using a couple of different methods to see if, in fact, they are the same variable. And so the first thing that we want to do is just a combination of these system.out.print lines. And we're going to look at a couple of different ways of comparing them. The easiest of which is just going to be the double equals. And we're going to take a look to see if our int a was in fact equal to our int b. We're going to also follow this up with another system.out.print line. And in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to compare our int a using one of the methods associated with it as a result of it being inherited from our object. Our object, remember, is the base class that all objects in Java inherit from. And you probably wondered what we were going to do with this. Well, now's the time to see that you can actually compare two objects. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to use the equals method associated with the instance of int a or integer a, and we are going to simply compare it then to int b. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to help this be a little bit clearer by putting some comments in front of this in the form of a string here. So I'm just going to specify that this is our double equals, and this right here is going to be our equals. And again, how you choose to make this more visually appealing is completely up to you. But the idea here is we want to compare these two. I just realized I missed my print line there. And we'll have to sneak in some parentheses here now that we've added a string. And so the idea is that this Boolean return value right here is going to then come after that. I'm going to go ahead and take a second to go ahead and line these up. So again, it looks kind of nice here. So at this point, then we want to duplicate this same example using our strings. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to create a string A, and I'm just going to have it say hello world. And then a string B, again, not the most creative variable names, but how about we do welcome to Java. And again, in this particular case, this is not too big of a surprise here. that these do in fact look like different variables. We can do the same thing with our int a and int b here. But again, what we're going to do is we're going to do a system.out.println. And again, I'm just simply going to compare the use of the double equals. And I'm going to compare then my string A, double equals, to string B, because I want to see what those look like, what these results look like. And again, I'm just going to simply line this up so that it kind of looks nice. And we'll follow this up again with another system.out.println using our equals. I think I've got this off by just a little bit. There we go. Clean it up. And then again, what we're going to see is there's going to be a string A. If you look at the methods associated with the instance of string A, you will see that there is an equals, and we're going to start off by using the equals, and we're also going to throw in the equals ignore case, which you've already had some experience with as well. We're going to want to see both of these here and sort of do a little bit of a comparison. And so what we're going to do is we're simply going to use string A dot equals. We're going to compare it to string B. Got to see exactly where my problem is. There we go. I think I'm missing an extra parentheses. And then we'll follow this up then with our equals ignore case, which is going to go ahead and mess up all of our nice tabbing here. So it'll probably take a second to clean this up. That looks good. That one looks good. We won't really worry about too much about our integers, but we do need to change our function name here. So this is our equals ignore case. And again, this gets us a pretty good start on where we're going with this particular demonstration. I'm going to go ahead and build this. So far, so good. Looks like good working code. And then I'm going to go ahead and borrow this function name to go ahead and create one more switch up in our main. And again, what we can do is we can just go ahead and borrow one of our earlier switches, in this case, our demo switch, or you can simply use your demo switch over and over. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and borrow it, copy and paste it here, and then change it to our equals underscore 01, which again also happen, or rather is equals underscore 01, which happens to be the name of our function. And in this case, what I want to do is I'm simply going to make a call then to our is equal underscore 01, and we can go ahead and build it. We can go out here to our command line. I'm going to go ahead and clear my screen, and I'm simply going to rerun this using our is equal underscore 01. And this isn't really too terribly surprising. We could, again, improve this, but we'll take a look at the code. And again, you can go back and make some notes in there as you like. But fundamentally here, if I compare int A and int B using the double equals, well, they both have the value of 5, so it's not too terribly surprising that they are equal. And then int A dot equals int B also returns true. But now when we take a look at our integers, again, the double equals here, again, not a big surprise. Sorry, I didn't mean to close that. Not a big surprise here because our int A was in fact not the same, or rather our string A was in fact not the same as our string B. I'm trying to move this out of the way here so we can see both. And then our string A dot equals, well, that also returned false because again, those two strings were in fact not the same. And then the equals ignore case also returned false because again, that one's pretty obvious. Now the integer ones, well, it's not completely apparent what's going on. We'll take a look at another video and we'll actually see what's actually going on with our equals function. But effectively what's happening here is because of the way we're comparing our two integers, 5 looks like 5. Now, the key thing to note here is they are, in fact, not the same object. It just happens to be that's how we're comparing those two. So let's see if we can really highlight and emphasize the difference between these functions. And I'm going to do so by changing the contents of string B. Now, initially, I had made string B the exact same as, different from string A. Now I'm going to make it the same as string A. And I'm going to do this by simply saying string B now is equal to, and just to be sure that I'm not introducing any errors here, I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this so that string B now should match the value of string A. And we are going to simply repeat then the same tests that we did earlier, except now using that new value of string B. And so we're going to go ahead and build this one more time. Go ahead and clear my screen, and I can go ahead and run it. And you can see here now, and to tell you what, we're going to go ahead and do one more thing here. I'm going to add a little extra noise in here to sort of clean this up. I'm going to do another system.out.println, and this time I'm going to put a little border in between all of our examples here. That way it looks a little nicer and we can sort of see what's going on. So one here, and I could almost guarantee that we're going to need one more. So hopefully now we can have an easier time seeing the individual steps here. Again, I'm going to clear my screen. You can see here that the first part doesn't really change any. That's just simply comparing 5 to 5. But then the next pass at it, when our string A and string B were different, then in that case, all three of our equals return false. But now if you take a look at the string A and string B, comparing them using the double equals, the equals as well as the equals ignore case, in fact, all return true. So again, this is just meant to be an introduction to how these three methods, 2 for the integers and 3 for the strings, work. We're actually going to see there's a little more going on behind the scenes, and in some cases the equals does in fact not return the same thing, regardless of whether or not we are looking at ignoring the case or not. But again, we're going to leave that for a later video. This was just meant to be a quick introduction of the concept. So as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And thank you for watching.